Hello everyone. Hi, I'm Sukanya, and I'm sure that the aspirants have already started preparing for OLETs. And for the same reason, we are here. So today we are going to practice some passages which are going to be based on MHCET and CULEE paper pattern. And as the paper pattern generally goes, the passages level of difficulty would be somewhere around easy to moderate. Okay, so as you can see, the English language syllabus comprises of contextual questions majorly, as you are going to see today as well, some grammar and vocabulary questions, and varying number of questions. So as we go about the first passage, let me tell you the ground rules. So we are going to see the questions first because when you see the questions first, you already know your target, you already know the keyword, and that is exactly what you're looking for in the passage. It will help you save a lot of time. So I'll show you the questions first, and then we'll move back to the passage. Okay, once you're done solving and reading the passage, do let me know. I'll start with the explanation, and after the explanation, you'll also have a clarity as to whether you have given the right answers or not. You can definitely write your answers in the chat box. I would love to see your response there, right? So let's get started with the very first passage. The first passage is a literary passage, and it's written as a biographical account on Charles Dickens' life. Okay, so Charles Dickens is one of the most famous writers that has ever lived, and that is what you're going to read about today in the first passage. So please see the questions first. I'm taking you to the next one now. Please mark your keywords wisely because they are going to really help you figure out your answer. Taking you to the next one. And the last one from the passage. As you can very well see, this is a vocabulary based question. So if you're already aware of the term pseudonym, I don't really think you will have to read the passage to answer it. Chalo. Let's go and see the passage. I hope everything is visible on the screen, so I'll be away from the screen so that you have a very clear view, right? In case you have any questions regarding vocabulary or anything that you haven't understood, please feel free to put it in the chat box. I'll definitely try to answer it, right? Also, I would suggest you to understand the flow of the passage. Like you guys must have noticed how we get to know about Charles Dickens a little bit in the beginning. We get to know about his work, and we also get to know why exactly does he have such a massive influence on the reading audience. In the second one, we get to know a little something about his backstory, right? So please understand the flow of the passage. It will actually help you remember the exact point from where you can get your answers. I'm taking you to the next slide now. I hope everybody is done reading. Just let me know if you're done reading this, so I'll show you the questions again. And you can definitely write down your answers in the chat box. Do not really care about making a mistake, it's totally fine. Okay, here you go with the first question. I can see some of you have given the correct answers. Very good. The next one. Taking you to the next one. And the last one. Finally, I hope you guys are ready for the explanation part. And as I already told you that the passages are going to border on easy to moderate. So this was a fairly simple passage, although it did require minute observation at your part because it had specific details questions. That means most of the things were contextual. So if you're somebody who's really good at retaining information, then this might have been really easy for you to solve. Yes. So, as I already told you, that this was a biographical account. That means we got to know about Charles Dickens' life and how Charles Dickens is a very famous British novelist, journalist, editor, illustrator. That means he was a pretty talented guy, right? And he's well known for his many novels. Oliver Twist, just a second. Oliver Twist, Christmas Carol, Nicholas Nickleby, David Copperfield, A Tale of Two Cities, and Great Expectations. And the reason why I have highlighted all of these details is because they asked us a question from this very part. So I would like to take you to that question now. It was question number 2. Here they have asked us which of the following works is or are not authored by Charles Dickens. So, in the very first paragraph, Oliver Twist was written, Christmas Carol was written, David Copperfield, yes, Tale of Two Cities, yes. It was only Gulliver's Travels which wasn't mentioned there, and also because it's not written by Charles Dickens, it's actually written by Jonathan Swift. So, that brings me to our answer. The answer is only fourth, right? I hope you guys have marked it right. Moving forward with the passage, so we get to know that Dickens is remembered for many things in his life, and most of the, I would say, things are related to what a great writer, illustrator he was. Now we get to know among his many accomplishments, there was also one more thing that he was applauded for, and that was providing a very stark portrait of Victorian era underclass. Underclass का मतलब क्या होता है? Somebody who is opposite of the upper class, right? The lowermost strata of the society. And the reason why he has, depicted them in great detail and got so much praise for it is because he was also a part of that underclass for some time. As we get to know in the second paragraph that सबसे पहले तो हमें पता चलता है कि how Charles Dickens was born Charles John Huffman. So his original name was Charles John Huffman, but later on he took the pseudonym of Charles Dickens, as you can see, and he was born on February 7th, 1812, and he was, I would say, as you can see, second of 8 children. His father was John Dickens and he was a naval clerk. And this guy, John Dickens, was actually somebody who was a spendthrift. He was I would say, he was that one guy who used to live beyond his means. उनको पैसा खर्च करना पसंद था. He was extravagant in his spending, and that kind of led to their downfall, as you can very well see. This guy, John Dickens, his father, dreamed of striking it rich. And also, we get to know a little something about his mother, Elizabeth Barrow. Now, she aspired to become a teacher and a school director. But again, those dreams were, something that got halted in the very pipeline. So in 1822, the Dickens family moved to Camden Town, which was a poor neighborhood. And the reason behind moving to this, lowermost part, or yeah, आप बोल सकते हो कि the poor part of the society was very simple because his father again spent more than he could actually earn, and because of that, he got into debt. And his family's situation, financial situation specifically, grew dire and dire. That means it became awful. It became really bad for all of them. And as you can see, John Dickens had a dangerous habit of living beyond the family's means. Now, eventually, because of his death, John was sent to the prison. And because John was sent to the prison, so the family's responsibility fell on the shoulders of Charles Dickens. So he had to leave school and he had to start working in a boot blacking, rodent ridden factory. Now imagine somebody at a tender age of 13, 14 had to leave school and had to start working to provide for his family. Obviously, that was very traumatic for Charles Dickens, as we get to know in the next paragraph. So we can see here that it was the best thing for him to support his family at this particular juncture. Now, whenever Charles Dickens, thinks about his past, we see him talking about it in a very, I would say, mournful manner because somehow his childhood was stolen from him, and the innocence was lost at a very young age because he had to fend for his family. तो ये हमें देखने को मिलता है इस particular पहले पैराग्राफ में. Now, He felt abandoned. He felt as if the elders did not take responsibility the way they should have. And because of that, his innocence was stolen. So, this was kind of a recurring theme in many of his novels. So, as you can see, these sentiments would later become a recurring theme in his writing. Again, another one of the questions that they have asked. So, I would like to take you to that question. Which of the following became a recurring theme in Dickens' novels? Feeling of abandonment and betrayal. Option B is the answer. Why A cannot be the answer, although this is correct. Faithfulness is the opposite of betrayal, and that's why this will not make the cut. Feeling of protection, अगर वो इतना ही protected feel कर रहा होता तो he wouldn't have spoken about it in so many of his novels. Again, providing security and trustworthiness, this is a positive option, whereas he had negative thoughts about this particular feeling, right? So the only answer that fits is option B. I hope you guys had marked the same thing. Now, we also get to know that, much to his relief, uh, John Dickens, his father, obviously got out of the prison, and he got a family inheritance, which actually helped him to pay off all his debts. So Dickens was back in school at the age of I think at the age of 14, but then again he was pulled out of school at the age of 15, and then he started working as an office boy. But because he was a smart and talented guy, he started reporting for two famous newspapers during those years. So he was actually a freelance reporter, and he reported for two major London newspapers, and he also started submitting his sketches. So he was not just a writer, he was also an illustrator, as we get to know, right? So in 1833, he also began submitting his sketches to various magazines, and slowly and steadily, he became super popular. He started writing under the pseudonym Boz. In 1836, we also get to know that the clippings were published in his first book, Sketches by Boz. तो उनकी खुद की book publish हुई, Sketches by Boz, where he very beautifully, I would say, illustrated these sketches, cartoons, etc. Then that also made an entry in the same year. Dickens started publishing the posthumous papers of the Pickwick Club. अब ये भी बहुत ज्यादा फेमस हो गया, पिकविक पेपर्स नाम से एक बहुत ही फेमस आप बोल सकते हो न्यूज़पेपर इंस्टॉलमेंट हुआ करती थी, एंड ही गॉट अ लॉट ऑफ पॉपुलैरिटी आउट ऑफ इट. सो हिज सीरीज ओरिजिनली रिटन एज अ कैप्शंस फॉर आर्टिस्ट रॉबर्ट सीमोर. सो ये जो पिकविक पेपर्स की जो सीरीज थी, इट वाज एक्चुअली whatever he was doing was a secondary job, but then his own sketches got so much popularity and fame that he started having his own individual monthly serial installments for the same, and people kind of embraced it and welcomed it with open arms. So as you can see, last May, in fact, Dickens captions were even more popular than the illustrations they were meant to accompany. So iska matlab ye hai ki whatever he used to write, it became more popular than the original work. And that brings us to the end of this passage. So as you can see, which of the following is or are true according to the passage? Dickens was one of the most prominent writers of the 19th century. True, we get to know from the first para. Second one, Dickens could go back to school when his father received family inheritance and had paid off his debts. Yes, we get to know that at the age of, I think, 14 or 15, he goes back to school. This is also true. Dickens' captions were less popular, whereas the last line tells us that it was more popular than the original series. So the only answers that would fit here would be both 1 and 2. Third is not really true according to the passage. This we have already answered. It was a pretty direct question. Again, another direct question. Which of the following is accredited to Charles Dickens? So what exactly did he write about? Again, you need to go back to the first paragraph, last line. He wrote very vividly about Victorian era underclass, right? So this is the answer, and let's choose the option. So he provided a clear portrait of the Victorian era underclass. True. This is the answer. Why this cannot be the answer? Because यहाँ पे लिखा है hazy picture. Hazy का मतलब होता है blurry. Okay, something which is unclear, whereas he did provide a very clear picture of Victorian era underclass because he himself was a part of it for quite some time, right? Then यहाँ पे भी hazy picture है तो this is out of scope. Clear portrait, but यहाँ पे लिखा है upper class. That's why we eliminated this one, right? Question number fourth, we have already answered. And the last one, what is the meaning of the word pseudonym? So pseudonym का मतलब होता है a fictitious name. Fictitious का मतलब होता है एक fictional नाम. So he gave himself the name Boz, which was his pseudonym, right? Something that is usually used by the author because he doesn't want to reveal his actual name, right? So do let me know how many of you have got most of the answers right. If you've got like 4 on 5, 3 on 5, 5 on 5, please write it in the chat box. Now, moving on to the next passage. The next passage is about oceans. So somebody who is interested in the unfathomable oceans would definitely enjoy this passage. And yeah, please go ahead, read it. But yeah, first I would like to show you the questions so that you have a clear idea what you're looking for. So which of the following is or are true according to the passage? In such type of questions, it's always imperative to read the options as well. So go through the options once. Taking you to the next one. On to the next. The keyword is right in front of your eyes. So make sure that wherever you see this word, you are extremely careful. And the last one. I'm taking you to the passage now. I hope you are ready to see it. I'm sure that you guys might have gotten the answers of two of the questions here, right? Taking you to the next slide. I hope you have already read the first one. Taking you to the first question now. I hope everybody's done reading. Taking you to the next now. On to the next, another direct question. Question ninth. And the last one. Okay, let's get started with the passage now. So, this passage primarily was about oceans, as you got to know. Also, it got we got to know about how most of the ocean is underexplored, and that's exactly why this particular passage has been written, because there has been an upcoming mission which is going to explore what is beneath, beneath, that is visible to the naked eye. Now, coming to the passage here, हमें यहाँ पे पता चलता है कि how oceans cover 70% of our blue planet. Blue planet क्योंकि obviously Earth is, I would say, predominantly blue in color, and most of it is because of the oceans, and that is most vital to the health of the Earth. Now, for instance, अगर हम carbon की भी बात करें तो carbon moves in and out of the ocean, and it can also be stored for thousands of years. Other than that, oceans are also a source of food, livelihood to so many people. Next, we also get to know how they are also the largest habitable space on our planet, क्योंकि ओशन के अंदर इतने organisms रहते हैं जिनके बारे में most people are not even aware about, right? So it is one of the largest habitable space which houses many different organisms. Now, moving forward, we also get to know but how most of the ocean is still unexplored, and that's what the scientists are worried about. Now, the deep sea, जब हम deep sea की बात करते हैं, it's traditionally defined as below 200 meter. और ये जो below 200 meter है, that is the space where even sunlight does not reach, and the organisms that live in this part of the ocean, they have well adapted systems to actually acclimatize themselves. So that's what we get to know here. But the thing is, this is something which is beyond the reach of all but specialist technology. So if you are somebody who would want to know more about ocean and the depth of it, you will actually have to use specialist technologies. Without that, it's not really a possibility. Now, much of the deep sea, that's the reason why it remains underexplored. And exploration of these species could actually help us in so many ways, because some of these organisms can actually provide us with the required compounds that might aid us in medicinal purposes. So ऐसा हो सकता है कि बहुत सारे organisms have things which are really useful for us to cure several diseases. Right. Now, the thing is, we get to know how Seychelles and Maldives are now jointly, launching this new deep sea scientific mission in the Indian Ocean. And this is primarily focused on sea mounts. So I already told you that you might have got the answer of two of the questions. Pehli baat to, what are the two countries who have jointly started this mission? Answer is Seychelles and Maldives. I would like to take you there. So, following countries jointly launching a deep sea scientific mission, other than Seychelles and Maldives, they did not really talk about any other country. So, automatically the answer is C. And also this one, seamounts. What exactly is seamounts? So, please see the answer from here. Now, seamounts are large landforms that rise from the ocean floor but do not reach the surface. And this is a direct question. So I hope you have got your answer here. What are seamounts? They are large landforms, yes. Rise from the ocean floor, yes, but do not reach the surface. So option B is our answer. ठीक है. This cannot be because यहाँ पे लिखा है reach the surface, whereas in the passage it's clearly mentioned that they do not reach the surface, right? उसके बाद ये भी बहुत clearly eliminated है because small landforms is something which is not at all mentioned. Large landforms that rise from the ocean floor and reach the surface again is similar to this one, right? So both of these options would be eliminated pretty easily. Now, taking you back to the passage, तो हमें पता चलता है कि the reason behind this mission is because they want to deep dive into the ocean. They want to explore what is unexplored. Now, historically speaking, अगर हम देखें, this type of research is usually done in countries that already have access to resources. ठीक है? Such as those who are at the shores of Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. So this is kind of, I would say, a novel idea which Seychelles and Maldives have undertaken. So we also get to know that the name of the mission is First Decent Midnight Zone. Why it is Midnight Zone? Because the sun's light does not reach this place. Right. And that is to understand, so ये पूरा paragraph जो है, it tells us about the goal of the mission. Right? It's to understand what lives underwater. Secondly, we also want to know how this changes from waters between Seychelles and Maldives. तो कैसे Seychelles का water, आप बोल सकते हो ocean, different है from Maldives, that also we get to know through this particular mission. We also get to know a lot of, I would say, information regarding the organisms that inhabit this particular place. Now, this is going to be provided as an open access database because globally everybody would be having an access to this information so that we also get to know about future explorations. Secondly, scientists or policymakers के पास भी एक better source of information रहेगी. And also, we also hope that this information enables countries to understand how to manage their oceans better. That means what exactly can they do to make it function more strategically for their own benefit, right? Now, this particular expedition is obviously made up of some expert scientists. ऐसी जो चीजें होती हैं, they are obviously done under the speculative eye of people who know things, right? So the expert scientists would be here from different disciplines and they would be documenting every single thing regarding biological, physical, chemical parameters, and they will also be providing a baseline data system. तो इसमें यही होगा कि it can actually help us to predict life in the parts which we were not able to explore. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे ocean के parts रहेंगे which not everybody could explore, and from the data that has been provided by this particular mission, we can actually predict what type of organisms might inhabit that space. Right. Also, we want to have an upper hand. Now, these countries, why are they undertaking this mission? Because they want to have a leverage. Okay, because if at all, worse comes to worse, they will have something to manipulate the situation. They will have more information than others, and information, as you very well know, is power, right? So we get to know a lot about seabed samples of specific organisms, and this will also give us the manipulator's arm, as you can very well see. Now, out of this mission, there are few things that people are expecting. So the first one is they would be finding some cold water coral reefs. ठीक है? Then we also get to know how there would be probably gardens of coral reefs, which would be definitely discovered. Sponges, which is again home to diverse life. So this is, I would say, the outcome that these scientists are predicting as of now, and that's the reason why they have, put so much efforts into exploring something which is unfathomable like space. So space and ocean is something that I would say, even if we try our best, we wouldn't really be able to discover it whole, right? The more we know, the more we are supposed to know. That is how it is. So now let's get back to the questions. So question number one. Which of the following is or are true according to the passage? You guys must have seen from the very first line, oceans are significant, not insignificant. So this is not true. The light from the sun cannot reach below 200-meter. True. We got to know that's the reason why the mission is named Midnight Mission, right? Where the sun's light cannot reach. Historically, deep sea research has been confined to countries with better access to resources. After reading this line, I think you must have got your answer. So this is also true. That brings me to the answer option D. Both second and third are true according to the passage. The first one is completely false. The second one, according to the passage, what is false? If you look at the first one, there's a lot that scientists still do not know about the world's oceans. Yes, that's what we get to know after reading the passage, that most of the ocean is underexplored. So that is true, but we are supposed to find a false option, right? The largest ocean on Earth is the Pacific Ocean, and it covers around 30% of the Earth's surface. Now, first of all, this has not been mentioned. So there is no data or evidence to prove this, and that's why this will be deemed false. If you look at the next one, the oceans accommodate one third of the total living species on Earth. Again, something which is not validated in the passage. And that's the reason the answer, that means both B and C are false according to the passage. Now, moving to the next one, which we have already answered, and I think we have also answered this one. Now, the last question, according to the passage, which of the following does not illustrate that oceans are vital to the Earth's health? If you read the first paragraph carefully, you will get the answer pretty directly. Oceans can store carbon for thousands of years. Yes. Then the next one, oceans provide food and livelihood to a large number of people. True. Oceans are the largest habitable spaces on Earth and are home to different organisms. True. Please look at the first paragraph and you will get your answer. So this is from where you can derive answer 10. So the only option that does not make the cut is option D. The oceans regulate drastic climate changes. Although it might be true, however, the passage does not really mention it. And if the passage doesn't say it, then automatically that is how we eliminate an option. So this brings us to the end of today's session. So I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something new out of it. And please keep on practicing such passages. You'll get a better hold as to how to solve such type of questions. And that's it from my side, guys. Thank you so much for your time and all the very best for your preparation as well as your exam. Bye-bye.